Episode 18, Higher Fire. This one was very interesting. We actually shot this episode in Arizona, in studio. Shout out to the CEO Pulse and the host, Rafael, for letting us crash his podcast. This time, we dove into our story a little bit, how myself and Esteban got partnered up, and then we talked about the importance of hiring overseas team members and how to do it right, how to scale your company with overseas team members the way we've done it, the way we've helped hundreds of clients do it, and the way Rafael has done it. He's obviously incredibly successful. He's an amazing office in Arizona, and he's hired a lot of people in the Philippines and in South America. And he himself, being a Mexican immigrant, actually talked about some of the struggles that he had to go through and everything that he had to overcome in order to get to where he is today, which is really cool. He gave us an amazing tip, not just find, but also train and retain his team members, because that's what it's all about. So episode 18, Higher Fire in Arizona with the CEO, Pulse, Mr. Rafael and Esteban.
Fam, what's up? Welcome back to the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. We're going to pick some immigrant minds today. You have three of them sitting in front of you right now, right? This is a really, really cool story. It started back in 2018, 2019. So we have Esteban and Omer. They run a VA service company. Aside from that, I mean, they're also tapping into the media space, right? So Hustle Media is owned by Esteban Andrade. He is the CEO of that company. And then we have Using Fava, which is another VA company owned by Omer. Between both of them, they also own Remote Latinos. Now you guys are over 300 people in staff. You guys launched this in 2019, around that area or that timeline, and that thing has grown over a very, very short period of time, right? So it goes to show what you can do if you really apply that tenacity, if you leave that victimhood mentality, throw it in the trash, you walk away with the willingness, right, to do more. It's about being resourceful, not necessarily having all the resources at hand. So I'm really excited, man, to have you guys in the podcast, pick your brain as to how the whole journey has kind of panned out from the beginning. I'm curious about what's in front of you guys too, as far as the future goes. So welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, man. There's a lot of there that you made us kind of think about to talk, because we imagine very big, we think very big, the way that we want to accomplish things and fulfill for our clients and for these people that actually we want to be placing in all these real estate companies. Yeah. So it's going to be fun because we're going to tell you exactly where we want to head it, because we have a purpose of employing over 10,000 people all over the real estate niche. And even
I remember you saying that. I remember you saying that a while back, that you want to employ 10,000 Latinos, right?
Correct.
What was it last year? You generated over $4.2 million for your clients in off-market deals that you were able to. I mean, that's trackable income that came directly from your guys' services.
Correct.
Right?
So that was essentially the first full year of business that we did. Mm-hmm. I started halfway a year, and then it didn't really count, but the first full year we were able to track, because we were able to track things through real KPIs and CRMs. And from there, all the assignment fees added up. All together, we're about 4.2 mil. Yeah. This year is way more. It's about, because we also increase the amount of clients that we service. Yeah. So it's maybe 5 times more. Wow. Around there. We haven't done the final tracking, because we're not at the end of the year. We're at the end of the year.
Yeah, you still got a month left.
And then we found that there is opportunity to help them scale even bigger, right? So when people they come in to our business, they lack almost an entire business system, or they lack leads and better marketing through digital marketing. So if they come in with no business systems, then we show them a path and a game plan of how they're going to have to focus on lead generation.
That's the one thing that creates consistency, man. Yeah. It's I can't get tired of telling people, reminding people that in order to have a business that creates that consistency, you gotta focus on that sourcing stage, the lead generation stage. 100%. So I wanna break into that, and I also want to find out how you guys got into it. So you guys are both immigrants. You have people all over the place. The company's based in Miami. You were born in Israel, right?
Yep.
And then walk me through that process. You were born in Israel, and then you moved to
Atlanta when I was
ATL.
11 years old. Mm-hmm. My mom on the green card. So as a 11-year-old, I moved to Israel, and from Israel, I should say. And then it's funny because when you're a kid, you don't really know what's going on. You're just taken to a place from place A to place B. So when I came to the U.S., I mean, it's a complete culture shock because I'm not just from Israel, I'm from Jerusalem, which is the holiest city in the world.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 11. I was exactly 11.
Oh,
so
okay.
I still speak Hebrew, but I have a very thick American accent now.
It's psychologically, man. The first 10 years are the years that kind of form our paradigms, our perspectives, our initial kind of blueprint of how we think.
Yes.
So it's hard to break away from that kind of pattern, like a culture shock at 11.
Yeah, because
that's heavy.
I always think I'm a big fan of the movie Butterfly Effect, and I just believe in the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
And if my mom didn't win the green card, I'm not in this seat today. 100%. Yeah. There's just no chance, right? And you talk about the blueprint, because I was handed one blueprint when I was from 0 to 10, but then I moved to the U.S. at the age of 11, and it's a completely different world. We moved to the suburbs. I had English, but I had to take ESOL classes. I had to learn it, and now like people look at me, they think I'm a white boy, but I'm really from Israel. And then
you walked in to the office. I thought you were like, that's white boy.
You have no idea, but I'm even more of an immigrant because my family actually is from Russia, so they immigrated to Israel, and then I immigrated from Israel to U.S. So I speak 3 languages, and I'm now currently living in Colombia, learning my 4th language. Because in my opinion, life is all about perspective, and the more places you go to, the more perspective you have, and the more languages you can speak, the more people you can connect to. And I think people in the U.S., they think that this is it, right? This is like we were talking about a little bit earlier. This is it. They don't see the vision of where the world's going to, which is 2 things in my opinion: is remote work and being able to hire a virtual team, which is some of the stuff that we've been doing over the last couple years here.
Traveling gives you perspective, right? But living and spending a lot of time in places that are just totally different culturally, I mean, that shit's just gonna play with your head, right? And it's gonna create that expansion, even though like if you're not looking for it. I grew up in humble beginning. I grew up in a mobile home, so I'm from a very small town, and I was used to the idea of the $30,000-$40,000 a year was really good income and that sort of thing. So breaking from that shell to me was a struggle. My perspective wasn't was just kind of anchored to that financial thermostat. I mean, just to say one thing, right? I mean, besides the financial thermostat, there's so many different things out there. Like, how do you communicate with people? How do you treat relationships? I mean, it's completely different here and Russia, right, per se. So you have a couple of different elements of culture in there that are, I mean, I think it creates for a real fascinating story, man.
It does. And this year alone, I've been to 8 different countries, which is I didn't realize how crazy it is until you start speaking to people, and they're like 8 like most people haven't left the U.S. 40% of the U.S. 40% don't have passports.
Yeah.
So they have never left. And like for us, he lives in Miami, so he goes to Colombia a lot. And for us traveling is so, I feel like we take it for granted in a sense, but it's like, it's all, like we said, it's all about perspective.
It's funny because people in Colombia, when I visit there, they now call me this gringo colombiano, which is Colombian gringo. Colombian white boy, essentially. But that's because I kind of lost the accent because I've been working on my accent. If you talk to me, maybe sometimes you'll be like, hey, are you like Hispanic? But most of the time you'll be like, okay, this guy has like a Canadian accent. Because I got to Canada and I wanted to like switch up the way that I would do things. Basically, I wanted to polish my accent because no one would understand me. Everyone would be like, what'd you say? Or like people will make fun of my accent or like whatever that is. And I worked so hard in it. But before coming to Canada, what he said, your parents just take you somewhere you don't even know. You just have to do it.
Yeah, you land. I mean, adapt and overcome, right? Like it's one of the things that.
But once I landed to Canada, I was like, okay, what I want to do. So I want to do something big. I want to prove, first of all, to myself and to other people in Canada, in the US, that I can have a big hope and I can achieve great things. So for me at the beginning it was like graduate, go to school and work for a big company.
Yeah.
In my head I was, okay, my dad worked for Coca-Cola in Colombia. My mom worked for like this big pharmaceutical chemistry companies in Colombia. I also want to work and I want to be able to do big things, right? But it's more the traditional route.
When you guys started thinking that way, around how old were you?
I was thinking that way around 14, 13 actually.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I was in
Same.
high school. I hated school. I still do.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, damn, dude, you have all this stuff, and most people don't go to college that
No.
have this kind of stuff. They're usually dropouts because then there's more pressure on you.
Yeah.
Right? Even though most people that drop out of college normally don't, they drop out for the wrong reasons. But if you drop out for the right reasons and start a business to actually do something, it's a little bit different. And for me, it was during high school, but then once I joined an MLM, which I was 18 years old, and I was selling like energy drinks, and I got into personal development. That's what it is. It's like you can't just think like that. There needs to be something that influences you. You know?
You know what, man? That's powerful. That's what you're just mentioning right now. It's powerful. Another good friend of mine, Cody Barton, he started in MLM type of stuff.
Vima.
Yeah,
I know him.
When he was 17 years old.
I know him.
And what it does, it's not that it's the world's greatest business, right? But it really just puts you in a different path of thinking. Yeah. Like it opens you up to like, wow, like you know how you go to those events and they're like they hype you up and then they just inject that that possibility. I love the fact that some people walk away and they keep that possibility in their pocket.
Because it gives you hope.
Yeah, it gives you hope, it gives you perspective.
That's the thing, like I think that majority of entrepreneurs that are successful, they start with hope, some sort of hope.
Yeah.
And like for example, we're talking here immigrant mindset. When people are coming to this country, US, Canada, they have to eat dirt. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
And they have to eat dirt in the sense that probably they have a great profession down there. So as an example, I'm taking my parents. They were professionals in their country, in Colombia, right? But then we moved to Canada. They had to right away do cleaning service jobs and like
stuff from the bottom.
Stuff from the bottom, right? Yeah. And I saw that, and my parents wouldn't have never worked physically so hard in their life, but they had to do it for me because they had a hope of giving me higher level education for me to like be successful in that. And I started seeing that and started appreciating that. Why? Because like they would come in, my mom would start having like this calluses things, and then she started going back to school because she had hope that she could recover back again from doing just this big labor and cleaning job to do whatever she was doing in Colombia, but in Canada. Yeah. So she went back to school 2 years. She was able to get like going from a $13 an hour job or a $12 an hour job in Mississauga, Ontario, to now making like $35 because she went through all that struggle and that, working hard to have that, because there is a hope, there is this gap that people see, immigrants see as soon as they land to this country, because there's opportunity. And that's what majority of like people that live here and are born here do not see, because they do not eat the dirt.
I was having a conversation about range with a good friend of mine. This is, I don't know, a few weeks back. I feel like when you're starting from the ground up, right, and you don't have like all the opportunities, you have the nice toys, the nice stuff as you're growing up, and a lot of people can identify. I feel like life goes, I mean, it's linear, right? We start here, we end here, and whatever happens in between is really up to us, right? Mm-hmm. You can argue manifest destiny and whatever you want in there, but at the end of the day, like we do have the ability to choose how we perform in life, right? So anyways, we have this line, and I feel like people get dropped off like in different sections. When you're born, some people may be born, I don't know, a quarter into it, right? And then, somebody else might be dropped off like right at the beginning of that line. Some people are dropped off 3/4 into it, right? So the perspective is going to be different. But when you have that much more to get to achieve something, to fulfill a desire, you're also building tenacity. You're also building, thicker skin. You're enjoying the highs because you know what the lows feel like, right? One thing that happens in entrepreneurship is it's really a battleground, right? You get into it, and it's a battleground with ourselves, I feel. You get into it, and I remember this. I mean, I'll speak for myself on this, but I remember getting into it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and that, and I had a really, cool, beautiful business plan. Day one, I'm gonna do this, and then month 2, I'm gonna do this. Then month 3 is gonna be this, and I'm gonna be making this much, and like nothing went as planned. Like that's a battle, and what happens? Like we start kind of doubt ourselves. We start to, get ourselves in holes. Like shit, I made the wrong, the wrong expense here. I'm spending money on stupid things. I'm paying dumb tax. now you're in the hole as opposed to making profits. And I think going through that kind of stuff, right, is really what builds that tenacity, what builds that skin, and that mental fortitude. More importantly, to make it through some of the tough times. Like right now, a lot of people are freaking out just because the market is changing, and not just in real estate. I'm in the real estate space mainly, right? I do a lot of coaching and all that stuff, but I'm sure you guys see it too on the client flow and the interest that people are putting into.
Nervous.
Okay, yeah, a lot of people are just, oh, you know what? I'll just bring it in house. I'm not outsourcing. I'm not. Well, I mean, it's cutting expenses. It's limiting the overhead, right, per se. But it's at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's a lot of fear and uncertainty. If you haven't gone through the dirt, that fear and uncertainty is going to feel a lot heavier, man. I don't know. I feel like when you've done that, you have the ability to go through a lot more. So
For sure.
yeah. So walk me through the process. You started in 2018. You started around 2019, so you're about a year apart. You had a VA service, and Esteban was actually your client. You guys decided to partner up. Tell me about the dynamic of partnering up. How did that come about? And why did you think it was a good idea? And how are you guys making it work?
Actually, I want to hear his perspective.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. In 2018, I joined a marketing agency.
Yeah.
And we were helping chiropractors get leads and get patients in the door. And I joined the company. They were doing about 20, 30K a month. And I talk about the hardships. I moved from Georgia to Colorado with $100 to my name.
Yeah.
Drove there, and I slept on wooden floor. When I first moved there, I didn't even have a house. I slept in my friend's van. Finally got my first paycheck. It was like $2K, and I was like, all right, I got to get a rent, and then started climbing up. And first few months I couldn't close. I was this close to getting fired. And my plan B was to go back to school because I was in school before I moved out. And right on the cusp of before I'm getting fired, things started clicking. I started understanding how to speak to chiropractors. I understood the market, and we took the company from 20, 30K a month to 250K a month within like 6 months. And I was the only sales guy. I made my first 10K in a month, made my first 6 figures in a year, and I was like, holy shit. Then the CEO of that company.
How crazy is that?
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's changed my life. That's why I'm always, like we talked about, how in 1 year a year from now, someone can watch this and they can be in a completely different stage in their life.
Well, look at you guys now. I mean, realistically, 2019, you kicked it off.
Yeah.
A couple of years down the road, and then you have over 300 employees, a ton of clients, and have results.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the CEO of that company, his name's Joel Kaplan. He started a coaching program teaching people how to scale their agencies. And what he did was he showed people exactly what we did to go from 0 to 250K a month, and that was his main focus. And Esteban, mid-summer of 2019, when he started his agency, and he'll tell you about it, started grinding out, and then I think he got advertised about Joel, maybe got told about Joel, and then he joined that coaching program, which is where we connected because I moved from selling the coaching the agency to selling the coaching because now I have so much faith. I'm like, dude, I sold the agency, I know how to sell, I know I can teach you how to sell, teach you how to sell and whatever else. And what I noticed is this is in 2020. I remember being in Medellin, so this is a crazy story. I came to Medellin in 2020 because we wanted to celebrate. Mm-hmm. We just hit our best month ever. We wanted to celebrate. But if you remember, March 2020, it was a crazy month.
Yeah, crazy month.
So I got to Medellin.
I was in Baja. I was able to get back. But
I wasn't. So March 20, I got to Medellin in March 12, 2020, and they gave us a week. First weekend we were good, and then they gave us like the next week. They're like, "Yo, if you don't get out, you're gonna get locked." Yeah. And we all thought it was gonna be like 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah. So I was like, "I'll stay here."
Everybody thought it was gonna be 2 weeks.
Everybody.
Like, oh, shit's gonna be in and out.
Dude, there's still people wearing masks today. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, that is unbelievable. Yeah. Anyways. And I got stuck there, and I was there for what was supposed to be 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I was there for 2 months. Yeah. And that's where I fell in love with that place because I've never been in a place where I can get everything for so cheap, amazing weather, and I didn't even get to explore the city. And I was like, I got to come back here, and I kept on coming back, and then obviously I ended up moving there. But my goal in 2020 was I want to figure out what I want to do in life. Like everybody's figuring things out. Like there was coaching program, agencies, this. And I noticed that all these agency owners, including Esteban, including all these people I'm talking to, because I was the top rep for our company, they are scaling their business. We're giving them everything. We're giving them the funnels. We're giving them the systems, the scripts. But they don't know where to find team members. Whether it's like level 1 team members, which is like appointment setters, to like level 2 media buyers, to level 3 like sales reps. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like I can do this because in the years previous, I've helped like about 10 to 15 friends from high school get into marketing, get into jobs. And I really like that feeling. I remember that feeling. It wasn't about me getting paid because a lot of them I didn't even get. I was just hooking them up. I was like, that's a damn good feeling, helping people get jobs. And November 2020, I got my first client because he was like, hey, dude, the only way I'll join this coaching program is if you give me a VA. And I was like, I'll be right back. Got him a VA, and he's still, to date, has that person.
Yeah.
He's 5X their pay. And this client, his name is Eric, became one of my close friends. He just hired his 7th person from us.
Yeah.
And he's hired, I believe, 7 people from like 5 different countries. To me, the flex is not just hiring people. To me, the flex is how long are you actually retaining people? I don't give a shit about giving people 300 people jobs. I give a shit about how many of those people actually stay there, level up their skill sets, become valuable. And, you know, there's 2 parts to our mission. We want to help 10,000 people find jobs. But really, we want to help 10,000 people level up their skill sets, become so valuable, and make more money than they've ever made in their life.
Yeah.
And Esteban then, earlier this year, needed a systems person, I believe.
No, advertising guy.
Advertising person, and he hit me up. We went through the process. He got introduced to the whole team. He's like, dude, this is great. He literally told me word by word. He's like, dude, I want to create this, but I don't want to create this from scratch. You've already built this. You've already built the systems. You have everything A through Z. And he saw that opportunity that, hey, I have all these investors, maybe we can partner up. And the amount of people, Rafael, that hit me up, bro, let's partner up, dude. I got all these lawyers, I got all these agencies, I got all this, and everybody's big talk. You know, big in business, everybody talks. This man right here, the reason I have so much respect for him, even though I've already respected him, put his money where his mouth is. And I told him exactly, this is how I want to partner up. We're going to start this very slow. We're not going to have anything signed. Let's just take this. We trust each other. I'm not going to take anything from you, vice versa. And over the last 6 months, we've helped over 75 specifically real estate investors, which is pretty sick. Before that, our focus was just marketing agencies and this and that. So when we say 300, it's not investors specifically. It's been 75 over the last 6 months. And the mission now is to really focus hardcore on investors and go all in on that specific market, because when you try to help everyone, it's kind of hard.
We're about to start running ads soon.
Yeah, you got to niche it out.
Bro, we haven't ran ads. Everything has been word of mouth. It's been on a regular basis. We both get hit up 3 to 5 times a day, like, help me out. We're not even running ads. It's all just word of mouth. And this year we'll do close to $500,000, 100% organic. Like, we haven't.
The majority of those, a lot of those 75 people that we first served were clients of ours here at Hustle Media, where they were getting leads, they were getting deals, they were getting appointments, but they were so busy. They started getting so busy, they couldn't follow up. They were
You bottleneck.
I bottlenecked them.
Yeah,
I mean, ultimately that's my goal, right? Like, I want to help them, but my goal is also that they close deals and they.
Yeah, no, I mean, regardless of who you are, you're gonna bottleneck if you start. You know, if you get really efficient at one stage of the business and then don't work on the rest of the stuff, you're gonna bottleneck.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's just a process of elimination, or improvement, not elimination. But as you go through the process, one thing that I noticed, and I was trying to read between the lines here, and that I think you guys are doing that is very, very, very smart, is that you have a team-centric type of culture.
Yep.
Everything that you told me in the first 5 minutes right now of that conversation was about the team, was about the people, was about how to help them thrive.
Yes.
I think culturally it makes a lot of sense. However, when we step back and we look at it as an approach, right? Like as the business approach, it doesn't necessarily click. But I think it's the right way to do business. When you take care of your team, when you look at their goals and create an alignment between where they want to get and between where you want to get in your business, now you become a vehicle. Right? Yeah. If you're a vehicle, they're going to handle that. You're going to have less headaches. You're going to perform way better. What happens is a ripple effect. You have word of mouth recommendations. Yeah. You have more better results. And at the end of the day, ROI.
I'm going to tell a story. Actually,
as well,
I get passionate about this type of topics because in my agency, I have mostly offshore people. Yeah. And they're from Philippines, South Africa, India, Colombia, Mexico, right? We have Americans. We also have Canadians. We ensure that every single one of them, regardless whether you're a setter, you start as a cold caller, you start as a whatever, they get their continuous improvement and knowledge and their continuous education. Yeah. Because there is something that everyone misses all the time, is that if you hire a so-unquote VA, this person is going to stay on his basic level, like activities that he has to do forever in your mind. Usually that's how investors, usually that's how digital entrepreneurs work right now, ever since like VA became popular. And they never gave them the opportunity to fail or try new things, thrive and try new things and being able to like grow as a person, because these are people just like you that just so happen to live in a different country. So for example, one of our Filipinos, she's an absolute monster. Like, she's the most efficient person I ever met. She does things that I take 3 hours. She does it in 1 hour, and she does it perfectly. And like, I told her, look, what do you want to do? Like, we have these meetings with our employees where we talk about like what do you want to do in your career? Like, how do you want to grow? Because our core value is like basically grow or die. Right? If you're not growing, you're dying. Yeah. And so our core value is like, compete with your own potential. That's our core value. And when we hire, we do that, and they understand that that's part of it. We also have a Slack channel that says learning new. But either way, and the entire concept is like giving them the ability to think for themselves, how can I take myself to the next level, and helping the agency, right? How can I take the agency or the business to the next level, or whatever department I'm working with, towards the impact I want to give, which is this North Star, which is this ultimate mission, which is this ultimate vision that the company has, right? Using these core values that you have established in the beginning, like why they hired me. Like, they hired me because I'm passionate about working, I'm passionate about like learning new things. So I gave her a task about being able to now create landing pages, websites, and in her first ever like try, she created like an almost identical duplicate to a test that she wanted to do. And she's never used a website builder. She's never been a creative person. She's never like, I mean, not creative person in terms of like being creative itself, but like she's never like designed stuff, right? Yeah. She's always done whatever she was hired for from previous owners. And that's it.
I think that's a huge. I mean, think about the human capital, right? Think about. Everybody has different talents. Everybody has something that they're going to be crushing, right, and really good at, that the next person just totally sucks. When we miss out on tapping into those talents, just because we're automatically just being biased as to, okay, that, it's a VA. VAs are not fucking laptops. Yeah. You know what I mean?
They're not robots. Yeah.
Like, they're not robots. They're humans with desires and goals and things that they talk about and they want to belong too, just like we do. I mean, how have you ever worked at a place that you're like fucking hate?
Everybody here has.
Yeah, exactly. So you walk in, it's like,
most people work for someone they hate, or they work for a company they hate.
It's the same thing. So we have the flexibility, right, to hire because of, we usually outsource things and go the VA route because it's cost effective, and it's virtual, so you don't have an office that kind of pans out. There's a lot of benefits to it, but at the end of the day, like, that's a human being on the other side of that thing. They have talents, right? We can, like, one of my favorite things is to bring my team in, and on a week, like every single week, we have operations meeting. I bring the cold calling team, I bring lead managers, I bring my dispo manager, my director of operations, and everybody and their mom comes into the meeting, and okay, what's going on? We start picking the brains of everybody who's on the floor, like people who are on the actual front load of those calls, and okay, what can we do to improve, right? And they come up with the greatest things. It's giving people the opportunity to thrive 100%. And belong, man.
They have hidden skill sets because, like, as you said, like, they have these desires and they want to do something about not only earning money, but like they want to do something about themselves. Like, if they're thinking long term, like whenever they come into your career, into your company, they want to have a long term thing. I want to be part of something, and they also want to grow as well. Like, they do want money, obviously. Like, they want to be able to, like, for example, one of my guys, he wants to marry in Cartagena, Colombia, and it's gonna cost them X amount. So he's working so hard on bonuses and commissions and meeting like KPIs and things like that. So they want stuff, right? But there's our hidden skill sets that people do not give the opportunity of these so-called VAs because, like you said, they just have labeled them as something that is incorrect to label. Like, these people have a hidden talent that if you don't give them the opportunity to show off, they will never show off because you're only like locking them into this specific thing.
Well, that, and then also I think culture plays a lot into it. For example, if you go to the Filipino culture, they're very, very respectful.
Yeah.
They're very respectful. They're super nice. They're very reserved for the most part, right? Like for example, like I have, one of my, she's a rock star, man. I think like if you put that lady together with your lady, I mean, it'd be like an insanely like, successful entrepreneur. But her name's Sheila, and she crushes. She began as a cold caller. And like, yes, boss, no boss. And she does like, to me, like, I don't know, I just feel uncomfortable when people call me boss, right? But that's how they do it. It's a cultural thing. They're like, no, Sheila, you don't have to call me boss. They're like, okay, boss. And then she'll, she's the nicest person. One thing that I started doing a while back was talking about top threes. So I would give them the opportunity to give us the top 3 personal priorities. What are your top 3 personal priorities? Not work related. They will say, generate more leads and get more deals through the door. Like, no. The personal priorities. Like, do you want more time with your kids? Do you want, what do you want? Like, as a human being, I'm talking to you as a human being. And I started doing that years ago. And the incredible thing is that a lot of the times the awareness is not right, because they're just like we're used to having this culture of, okay, we'll just outsource and it's another record on the payroll. That's all it is for the most part. We're used to seeing that, right? They're used to being treated that way. So they don't express. They don't open up. They feel like they're outsiders to your company. How sucky is that?
The worst sucks.
Yeah. It's the worst. You guys are both right. There's one thing I wanted to mention on top of it is the biggest reason you want to have the biggest reason that our team sees things that we don't is because they're doing things that we don't. Yeah. Your team is cold calling. Your team is doing lead managing, acquisitions managers. If you're not the one doing that, and you think that you're gonna come up with all the solutions and all the ideas, you're going to limit how your company is gonna grow. Instead of listening to your team and coming together on ideas and giving them the opportunity to grow. One of the things that I wish I did this earlier. You mentioned you do this top 3. I started doing personal performance reviews with every single team member. At the end of the month, we have 14 team members, and there's literally about set of like 10 to 15 questions that I go to depending on the position. And we talk about pros and cons, what can we improve on, and and then we create a goal for the next month. And this is the time where I talk to them. I'm like, dude, in the most ideal situation, where would you want to be here? Because when you enter a job force, when you enter a remote work, let's just talk about what we do. There's two scenarios. You're either going to grow in this company, or this company is the bridge to your next opportunity. And I'm very aware of that. Yeah. Because that happened to me, that happened to Esteban. Like, we're here because of our previous opportunities. We weren't born into this, right? So when I talk to my team member, I'm like, look, as we continue growing, we continue scaling, we become a giant force, there is either an opportunity for you here to become a manager, become a leader, become something that maybe there's not even a position for right now, or we help you create certain skill sets that eventually you can take to the next field force. And I tell my team members, the only thing that I want is if you leave, that you have a way better opportunity. Like, they're paying you significantly more. This is exactly what you want. And as a CEO, as a leader, and someone that's super unselfish, I did my job. Yeah. And I think so many people don't see that.
We're so in alignment when it comes to that.
It's huge because people, people suck at hiring and they suck at keeping their team members. Yeah. And this is why, because they don't get to know their people. And it doesn't matter if you're American, if you're Filipino, they're mistreating people. And like you said, we've all worked for people or for companies that I can't wait to clock out.
The crazy thing is, like, it's, I just had this conversation actually with one of my students on a coaching call. What's your buy box? And they're in a different market. Like, what's your buy box right now? Like, your buy box 6 months ago was that, like what you're talking about right now. But what's your buy box right now? It's like, I don't know. I have to go in there and do all kinds of research. Like, you have a dispo VA. Your dispo VA is going to know your buy box. Do you talk to your dispo VA? I haven't asked her what the buy box is. The consideration alone, you know what I mean, goes a long way.
That's a very yeah.
Sent a message. He got a buy box within 2 minutes. Yeah. From a response, just from tapping into the talent that's already in there.
And here's a lot of people miss out on growing from a newbie business owner to an actual business owner and CEO and an actual person that is going to grow a company forever, is that they don't learn how to be a leader, and they don't know how to coach people. Yeah. And ultimately, so I'm going to give you an example. My first ever VA, she was my cousin. And she started sending just DMs on Instagram, on Facebook, adding people in a group, and like basically having a conversation as if it was me with real estate investors, so that we can book an appointment and they talk with me, and I basically go over like what's going on and then I pitch them, right? Yeah. And then she grew so much to do, and she never had experience. So, you know, the backstory is that she was still in university. She never had experience, never had a job. So for me, it was like I was unaware what was her capabilities because she never had experience in nothing. She only had really good English. That's it. And she had the will to like work and make money. And so, but now she's working in a top level position. We call her like a systems lead. And she's so incredibly good at like finding like root cause of problems, solving those problems in the systems and automations, technical support and stuff like that. And being able to make things happen because now she has like people under her like that will help her like do stuff real fast. But she would not have been in that position if I didn't apply the method of, I learned it from a book but like it was kind of like something that I decided to do by myself. And the book is called The Extraordinary Coach. The Extraordinary Coach teaches you how to be a great leader by actually asking questions instead of like demanding people to do stuff.
Yeah.
And then people used to work in autocratic ways, but like, this is the way I do it. Do this, task. Yeah. To VAs, which don't, you know, it limits their capabilities.
They'll stay within
themselves.
those boundaries.
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
they'll limit the capabilities of doing things by themselves. But instead, what I allowed my cousin, my first VA ever. So I told Lena, you want to do this is our goal, and you have a problem, all right, on achieving a task. She came to ask me for the solution, but instead I was like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And literally she was like she would go back in her chair like on Zoom and be like she started thinking, right, like next time you come, start doing this exercise, think for yourself, try that. If it sucked,
same thing,
it sucked, well, it's good, like you try.
There's critical thinking happening and more importantly a different perspective. I do the same thing. My team doesn't come to me with a problem. They come to me with a problem and 3 possible solutions.
Yeah, 100%. Like, this is exactly the same thing that I do.
When you walked in, I was on a phone call. That's what we were talking about. He goes, we have this deal. I think we may have to go back to work on the numbers and whatnot. And like the expectation of that call is not for me to rerun the numbers, right? Which is what I would do in the past, you know, that micromanagement thing, whatnot. It was so I reran the numbers, and I think we have these 3 different options. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's pick one of those. And again, it's just tapping into the talent that's there. It's a beautiful thing to have the ability to hire. Right, that quickly, that easily. Somebody who's trained, somebody who's willing, you know, and able to do the work that we're looking for, and not tapping into it just because we're way too busy as entrepreneurs, quote unquote. I mean, that's actually the same reason why we're way too busy, because we're not delegating, right? But just, you know, what it's worse is ignoring the talent that's already in place. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. So your journey over the last couple of years is insane. I think the values that you guys uphold in the way that you guys do business are gonna skyrocket you. I mean, they're already doing it, right? Mm-hmm. But it's really what's needed out there. People want to belong. People want to mean something. It's I think we're past that stage where people just matter, or just, you know, we're concerned about a paycheck. Now we're concerned about a paycheck, about feeling good. Now we have this fancy thing called impact, purpose, and you know, desires. If you find a spot that encourages that type of culture, you're gonna have good results. You're gonna have good results. Before we're getting close to wrapping up, but I want to ask you guys, how do you find? I mean, you're growing the team and you're like uber fast. How do you find VA talent, and then how do you retain it? More importantly.
Yeah, I mean, right now we've tried many different things, and we're actually going to start running ads again very soon. Because when we said we're not even running ads, it's like 2 ways. We're not running ads for business, and we're not running ads for VAs. But what we've noticed is that hiring recruiters, like real people that can go out there and use recruiting platforms. Like we have like 6 or 7 websites that we use, Facebook including. There's one called Remoco, for instance. And there's like many of them where we actually go out there, we make job postings, and we do prospecting. One of the things that I focused on really hardcore over this last year, even with Esteban being here and even before we partnered up, is that I'm pretty good at sales. I've been doing sales for 3 years. I've sold, you know, over $5 million in high ticket. Like, sales is not my problem at all. Like, I've figured it out. However, what most salespeople do when they start a business is they just start selling again. And then their product or service sucks. So what I did was the opposite. I'm like, hey guys, I have enough money saved up. We're good. Like, if we need to be a little slower on sales, let's focus on the product, let's focus on the service, and let's figure out a way, let's figure out the best job postings, the best platforms, the best way to recruit people, and take them through a qualifier. And what I did was, our qualifier is not the hardest thing in the world, but it does require time, and it does require skill set, right? Most people are lazy. Well, our application process is like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I promise you, most people don't want to do it.
So you do it intentionally.
So we do a 20, 30 minute application, and the second thing we do is a video. So they have to submit a video with specific instructions they have to follow. Immediately, out of all the people we talk to, 80, 90% of people drop off just because they don't want to do it. Then what we do is we look at the people that submitted what we needed, and then we personally interview them, every single person. We go over the application, resume, what they want to get paid, their ideal situation, so on and so forth. And then based on those people, we classify, we have three categories. There's either a rock star, there's either someone that's just qualified, and someone that's overall not qualified for whatever reason. Maybe their English is not there, skill set, whatever the case is. And the best people, we then take them and we present them to businesses like yours, Rafael's, whoever is looking, and we present them to people. And now the client gets a chance to skill test these people. They get a chance to interview people, because when you work with us, it's not like we're just placing people with you.
Yeah.
You're the ultimate decision maker. This is your team. We're just finding the people, but this is your team. So I actually was on a call earlier with someone, and he says, "Dude, I don't want to hire a team. I just want to outsource everything."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dude, that's amazing. There's services that do that. That's not what we do. Our intention is to help people get one boss." Someone actually said it to me yesterday. He's like, "Dude, when you work with an outsourcing company, they have two bosses. They have the boss that they work for, that they get paid, and then they have the boss of the company that pays them." Where for us, it's, dude, you're not doing me a disservice. If you don't do what you're supposed to, you're doing yourself a disservice, your family a disservice, because we don't take a single penny from them. Like, you don't pay us and we pay them. We don't take a penny from them. So 100% of their income is dependent on them. On top of that, we're a premium company. We're not like it's not $500 to work with us. And I told Esteban this last night. I was like, the reason we're a premium company is because if clients can pay us premium, they can pay their VAs premium.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be cheaping out. And some people, we were talking about this last night, some people pay their VAs $1 an hour, $2 an hour. And they flex that to me. They're like, "Dude, you pay your VAs $5 an hour." I'm like, "Dude, $5's not even good." Like, that's like, okay, like that's a good start. And majority of the world, that is actually not bad. But like, dude, how do we get it to 6, 7 plus commissions? How do we get these people to make
my lead manager? She's at 10 and climbing.
Incredible.
So it's she's a direct hire.
That's perfect. That's how it's done. And the thing is, a lot of businesses,
quality is there. Like, quality of the work is.
That's what matters at the end of the day.
Bro. Like,
and the result, right?
Because you got the CEO pulse.
Exactly.
Like, our goal is actually people to actually have that pulse. Like, that's what I'm
100%.
saying.
And I was gonna say, last thing is, people, a lot of businesses, they care so much about their margins, which in the end of the day, you need to be profitable, right? 100%.
Yeah.
However, if that's all you care about, that's literally the only thing you care about, and you don't care about these people that you're hiring, you don't care about their future and what they want to do, because he has a team member that wants to get married. I helped one of my team members get married last year. I don't talk about that often. That is a lot more important than just your profit margin.
Yeah.
Like, I told him, like, our profit margins are pretty high because everything we get is from word of mouth. And instead of me keeping more money, taking an extra 10% home, why don't I spread that 10% within my team?
Yeah.
And if we can do that, our goal is to now send that same.
And they'll last longer.
Oh,
and then they'll
100%.
perform, and they'll bring the company forward to a bigger.
And with us, because we do that with our recruiting team, guess what they're going to do? They're going to attract that kind of talent because they love working for us.
Yeah.
So now they're like, "Dude, how do I find people this kind of job?"
Yeah.
So now they're passionate, they're motivated, and helping us figure out how to find more people like them.
Yeah.
The people that we're hiring, I'm like, "Dude, how do I find more Juans? How do I find more Michaels, Isabellas? Like all the team that we have, how do we find more people like that?" And it's because they love working here. We treat them like people, like humans, and they get passionate about finding those type of people, and I get passionate about finding those businesses. We reject a lot of businesses. If they just want to outsource, they want to brag to me about paying $1 an hour VA. They're like, "Whoa, I thought it was $3 max." And I'm like, "Dude, $3, they're still poor.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a lot of money."
Yeah.
Like, of course, it's not. It's $3 an hour in Philippines, for instance. It's like $8, $9 an hour here.
Yeah.
Like, you can somehow survive, but dude, I don't want them to survive. It's about life is about thriving.
Yeah, it's about making an impact. It's about making a change, man. We have the ability. Like our dollar goes a lot further.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Right. So why not? And I get it. I like, yeah. Well, it's a benefit. They're not in person. I don't have the ability to see them every single day. All right, make the adjustment, right? But you don't have to go all the way down to $1 or $2. I mean, it's
very common.
Look, his first ever client, who's also a friend of mine, Eric. He's having I don't know if this is his first ever, but he has a team meeting, like a team meetup, right? End of the year. He's bringing everyone. No. It's supposed to be this year, December.
No, I said next week. I said
next week. There you go.
Yeah.
In Medellin, Colombia, he's flying everyone, paying for everyone. He created a praise and reward system where he is allowing people to like earn it and feel like this is an amazing thing to meet up and meet every single one of my team members in a beautiful country, in a beautiful city like Medellin, and he still has margins. Why? Because like this is a high margin like thing that you have. Like as a wholesaler, if you were to hire in-house, you have to hire people that make $50,000 a year, benefits, $60,000 a year, benefits, tax, all taxes, of that. Higher level people like over $70K and stuff like that. Yeah, and how much money you're saving too? Like just pay them better.
Yeah, but put it back into the world. I believe in the merit principle, right? Like people earn their places through merit, but we have to give them a shot at that. We have to open the door for them to walk through that and actually start earning. I mean, I have tier systems and pays for everything. Yeah. So and it really goes like they've saved my ass when I felt like I was in tight spots.
Yes.
And it's like it really becomes a team effort because now they all belong. So
they have your back.
But you know what, Rafael? Yeah. Not everyone will agree with what you're saying right now, even if they're listening to this podcast. Like for example, they'll say like, "Oh, they don't deserve to like be having a raise or to having a higher level job because they're not as creative or not a
or they live in a third world country. They don't need them.
When you have a team member that thinks, oh, I don't do that because that's not my job, right? Like you don't have a well-functioning, business. Something's off in your culture. If you can think and go to your team and know if something comes across, right? That somebody catches something that belongs to somebody else's department. And they keep it to themselves just because they don't give a shit about the company, like that's a bad thing, right? But if you build a business where your team is collaborating and they'll go the extra mile to, hey, listen, I caught this, I know that's your department, but I'm giving you a heads up on that. That's what I mean. Like these people have saved my ass and they go the extra mile because they're tapped in. Not that they're being nosy in the different aspects, but they care about what happens to the ultimate result, right?
100%. They're part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And like that, it's so easy to miss that, man. It's so easy to miss that. Just because there's biases on oh no they're over the country their English sucks. If their English sucks, I don't know, try their typing. Are they good at sending emails? If they are they smart? Are they sharp? Like shit. Okay, transaction coordination. All right, it's emails all day long.
And it's so funny. They're like their English sucks. Like dude, you don't speak another language.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to work in another language. Like I speak Hebrew pretty fluently and I've had some sales calls in Hebrew. Man, it is hard. And I'm fluent in Hebrew, like completely. And I'm thinking, I'm like, damn, dude, my Filipino team, they learn English in another country. I learned English here.
Yeah, and then we get pissed off when there's an accent. They're like, no, they have an accent.
Dude, they live there. They watch movies, they listen to music.
Are you crazy?
I have a client right now that is literally like, they have, I'm trying to get him on interviews and he's like, dude, they have too much of an accent. I'm like, dude, of course. Right? And of course you want to find people limited with accent, depending on the position.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's part of the nature, right, of the whole thing. But I feel like you don't just flat out discriminate or not discriminate, but get somebody off the roster, because there's one thing that they're not good at, right? You give them, I don't know, if the attitude is there, man, the attitude to be trainable, the attitude to move forward and perform and improve, if that attitude is there, the skill set can be worked on. Yeah. Like that, I'll hire for attitude and train 100%. For skill.
And I want to say that location of where you were born or where you are located at is not a function of intelligence.
Oh, fuck no.
And a lot of people do think that way, unfortunately. Like, we did a survey, a post on a Facebook group, and we're like, why would you prefer to hire people in the U.S. over people offshore? And a lot of comments, they were very ignorant because they were basically saying that because they live outside of the U.S., they're less intelligent, they're less creative, they have a lower level of doing like skilled jobs or things like high skilled jobs just because they are outside of the U.S.
If that's happening, it's because of exposure. That's all. But if we expose them to systems, to processes, we show them how things work, they will surprise the heck out of you. Like every single day, twice on Sunday, man. So yeah, I'm a big proponent for for hiring and going down the virtual route. There's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't be able to accomplish if I hadn't done that. Especially when you're a bootstrap business, right? You're an entrepreneur. You're trying to figure shit out at the beginning. Maybe you didn't start with a fund, and you have $1 million or whatever to turn.
Yeah.
You have to figure things out, right? VAs and going down the ISA route is it's a really good process. And I want to make the comment again. They're not laptops, right? They're people with talents, with dreams, with desires, with a sense of belonging. And if we can create that, I mean, now you have a team member. They're gonna go to bat, man. Yeah. Like it's insane. But I'll be working at 5 p.m. my time, right? And then I'll send out a message. It's night, in the middle of the night, where they're at. And I was like, they'll respond. Sometimes I've been, it's midnight my time, 1 p.m. or 1 a.m., 2 a.m. or something, and I don't know, either burning the midnight oil or coming back from something. And I think of, something that just pops into my head, and I'll drop it into Slack, hoping they'll see it in in my morning when they wake up, and they'll respond like within 30 seconds, like, what the fuck? Do they ever sleep?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
the one thing we haven't said though, they're the most loyal people in the world.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when you put a good, I want to put some light on that. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. Game changer for me was to understanding this. The reason I'm so much in alignment with this is because it was proven to me by Sheila. All right, hired Sheila back in 2017, I think it was. Started cold calling. She was cold calling for a while, and then I saw that there was there was more there. I would ask her some questions and give her a little bit of more rope, right? And she would surprise me. So she became my lead manager, and then I started outsourcing, and she was working for another company. She had two bosses. She had me, and then she had the other boss. I never I talked to the other guy the time I hired her, and then that's the last I heard from. I wouldn't get reports or anything like that, right? She was giving me all the reports and all that stuff. Anyway, she spent a couple of years with them because of loyalty. She wouldn't jump ship. She wouldn't quit. She wouldn't do any of that stuff, right? I respect it. We'll just do this your way, right? Yeah. So we kept going with that for years. Eventually, the company went out of business, and she started freaking out. She's like, "Boss, I'm gonna be an employee. Don't worry about it. You're gonna come work for me directly, and I'm not gonna pay you what I was paying you then." She was like, "Okay, I get it. You're gonna pay me less." But no, I'm gonna bump it up $2 because you're amazing. It was like, what? Okay, so now she's making 3 times as much as she was originally, right? But she earned it along the way. What started happening? She was happy in the company. She started going the extra mile on a lot of things, surprised me on a regular basis. And she goes, "My friend's looking for a job. Can we hire her?" I was like, "We can, but I'm not gonna manage her." And I just kind of planted the seed. I don't know, figure out what you want to do about that. She goes, "Well, I can train her." I was like, "All right. What about managing? Are you going to assume responsibility for her?" And this is me kind of giving her rope, right? I'm just waiting to see what somebody's going to do, and giving her that, putting that opportunity on the table. She goes, "Yeah, I would love to." I was like, "All right, cool. You just earned a cold calling department," and then I bumped her pay again hourly. So she freaked out about that. She was super happy, and she runs the cold calling now. She's doing she's recruiting cold callers. If I tell her we need 2 more people, she'll go and recruit, find 2 people, train them, keep accountability. So she handles that whole section, right? But it's an internal thing. It started evolving from that ability to just tap into her willingness, right, to cooperate. And people, again, they surprise you, man. They surprise you. And now, that whole department is hers. She's running it, and it's we wouldn't be able to do what we do without that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. I always tell this guy, so remotelatinos.com, right? If I were to be back, because my parents went back. Yeah. They live in Colombia, and they wanted me to go back. If I wanted to go back and live in Colombia with my parents again, forever, I would be a remote Latino. Yeah. Think about it. I have these skill sets, and I have had this experience, and I have this capability of doing things. Just so happened that I moved back to my country, or just so happened that I live in Colombia, right? Because they wanted to move from Canada. It's so cold, and they had to eat dirt back to Colombia, where it was not cold, and
they're used to it. So people,
and they have the comfort of having a great job and a great lifestyle, right? So I would have like you would hire, and essentially you would hire a me. This just so happened that that me would be just an employee and working hard for your company, because that's how hard I work for Magna, the company in Detroit. Yeah. That actually, even the company before that in Toronto, how hard I worked for Magna, and I found out that the automotive industry in the U.S. is literally controlled by Mexico. It's literally like
manufacturing happens, man.
Manufacturing happens in Mexico.
Yeah.
Also, great design happens in Mexico and everything, right? I mean, the headquarters is in Michigan, but you go there, like you want to make sure that you produce and assemble a vehicle. It's in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then the same thing when I went to work for Chrysler. Like the higher, the top G managers were Mexican, and they're like super smart, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy, my man, my cuate loco, man. But and then I realized that like, look, like we have so much capacity. And for example, Indians were like they were doing all this infinite element and just doing all these simulations in the computer. Very smart people, and they're working in Detroit, and like they're just there. They're being very hardworking individuals that live in the U.S. now, but it would have been the same if they lived in India, right?
Intellect doesn't. I mean, it's got no passport, man.
Exactly. We're all at the end of the day, we're all virtual assistants. If you work remote, you work online, we're virtual assistants.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Literally, that's it. We assist businesses. Like we're higher level virtual assistants. If you work online, you're a virtual assistant. I don't care if you're Mark Zuckerberg or if you just got started and you're in the Philippines, you're 18 years old, just got
You're somebody's virtual.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it, guys, man. It's refreshing to see the backstage of a VA company, right? And it's like even more so to see the cultural route that you guys are taking in that sense, because I feel like it's needed. Happy people perform better results, get better clients, and just everybody eats, right? Everybody
we want to be
grows.
the Apple of the VA agencies across the real estate. I want to be that Apple. Like when Steve Jobs created Apple and everything, he wanted to be
this idea.
The idea of like, why do I have to be the same as IBM? Why do I have to be the same as Microsoft? Like, no. And a more like a better and exclusive and just having an actual like mission. Right. So
no, I love it. My favorite question, man. This is my favorite question. I usually close the podcast with this. But if you were walking, this goes to each one of you. If you were walking down the street and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what piece of advice would you tell that kid? We'll start with you.
I'll slap him, be like, stop doing whatever he's doing, but probably will have a hard time listening to me, because like he wants to figure out things by himself, which is ultimately what got me here. I wanted to figure out things by myself, but I probably would have used the praise and reward system that I use right now, where it's like, if you do this, you get this, instead of saying like, if you don't do this, you're not gonna get this. So I would have been like, Esteban, like, if you do this, and I know this because I have experience, you will do it. Try it out. If you do this, you'll get this specifically. To be able to encourage my younger self to like do not do a few of the mistakes, or take such a long time to do things that he was supposed to do in like in two months or a month or something like that, 2 years.
Part of youth, right? Yeah.
Part of youth, but like it was figuring this out. Yeah.
I like it. What about you, Omer?
I love that question, because on my podcast I ask, if you were to change, if you don't, I usually start it at the beginning of their journey. I'm like, okay, you started 3 years ago, what would you do differently? But you're taking it for me 10 years ago. I'm 27, so when I was 17, I would say drop out of high school. It's time. You know this is completely useless. Stop wasting your time, and start learning sales now. Like, you're gonna need this is your talent. You're good at talking to people. Start learning sales now, and become independent faster, because I became independent at 23, I would say, which is still pretty young, but I would say become independent faster, and by the time you're 27, you should be financially free. So like, now I see the road where I need to get to, where at 17, I think I was actually pretty coachable at 17, because I got into MLM like the year after, and then I started getting into, and starting investing and this and that. But I would have told myself, get the out of high school. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time in college. It's not your route. Go learn sales. I would say the last thing is there's some friends that you're currently hanging out with that are the absolute worst, and they're not going to do anything. And then you have a core friends that you need to keep by your side.
Yeah.
It's actually unique because I've noticed I have like a group of like 10 friends that I've known since I was in middle school that we're all entrepreneurial, and it's very unique. Like how many people from 6th grade are you still friends with?
Yeah.
I'm friends with like 10 of us. We're all in business, entrepreneurs, sales, like something like that. So I'm like, those friends, keep them by your side. But then the people that are just smoking weed, today, they're still smoking. They're just still smoking. Yeah. Some of them just never grew out of it. I'm not saying don't smoke weed, don't party, but some people never grew out of that stage. Leave those people immediately, because that's what you hang out with. That is what you become. You become comfortable with that, and go learn.
We're the average of the 5 people that we hang out with, right? You make a really good point, man. I have and let me just interject on that, but I feel like you have to leave the relationships that are not in alignment with you, right? That's a no-brainer. Like, it's stupid not to. And then we also have like this. We have emotional needs, and there's certain people from our past, from our childhood, that are going to fulfill that need, right? Sure. So it's not about cutting out your friends and then moving to elite circles and masterminds and then just being there all intense and shit. No, like you still want to have that warmth and that true genuineness of love, which comes from honest friendships.
I know people that are really high level that talk about leave all those people in the back.
No, and I'm like, dude,
absolutely disagree. I fucking hate that. I'm like, dude, these are people that are here. I
absolutely disagree.
But you know what's crazy? I've noticed this very well. The people, my most successful friends, always talk about the future. Yeah. And my least successful friends always talk about the past. Yeah. And I noticed that because I'm still hanging out with them. For me, I don't care where you're at in life, as long as you are enjoying, you're a good person and you have a good heart. Yeah. I don't give a shit if you make $10 million or if you're making $50K. If you're a good person, you're happy and you're grinding, man, God bless your soul. And then it's just interesting because I literally I'm at the age of 27. I'm still young. My friends are my age. That always we talk about future. We always like crypto investments, blah, blah, blah. And then I have friends that are like, dude, remember in high school when we did this? I love both of that, but it's an interesting perspective because you see the difference between where people are at.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun to go back down memory lane and then get in a space where you do stupid shit and then you get out of that space into your real world and you're killing it and crushing it. Yeah. Guys, it's been fun. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, where's the best place to find you guys?
Instagram, so at Estenick, ESTENICK. So Esteban Nicholas, that's basically my first two names, Estenick. Also we have in Facebook a free Facebook group called Real Estate Investing and Wholesaling Marketing and Conversion plus VAs.
Nice.
Now we added the plus VAs. Yeah. So it's a free group.
Okay.
And like we go there live on our podcast and we do, a few different things and lessons and things like that. So Instagram and that Facebook group.
If somebody goes to the Facebook group, what can they expect?
If they go to the Facebook group, they'll have for example, last year we did a rundown exactly on a guide of exactly how to do your SEO for your website on real estate investing. So you'll see different lessons, huge giveaways that we do, huge for example exact frameworks on what we use in order to generate motivated sellers through digital marketing. For example, I'm gonna release this exact framework on exactly how to build a Facebook ad that will get the attention of people using proper marketing, right? So it's a PDF and a video training, and I'm gonna drop it in the Facebook group, and it's gonna be there, and people will be able to learn this skill and comprehend it instead of just copy.
So it's a good place to empower sales. Then.
100%.
Awesome, guys. Again, I want to thank you. I know you guys are in town for a very short amount of time, so I appreciate you guys stopping by and doing this in person. Super cool. It's the way to go. I'd rather do this than Zoom podcast. But,
if I can plug in mine. So for me, it's OMER BLOCH on Facebook and Instagram, Omer Bloch. And then my podcast is called Higher Fire, ironically speaking.
Higher Fire. That was genius. I like that.
I know, it's genius. It's pretty genius. I'm not going to lie. It's one of my best ideas.
Well, between the Omer Bloch name and then the Higher Fire, shit, dude.
I'm a quit.
I am telling you.
I'm going to
go back and rebrand my name.
Yeah, right. So Higher Fire, we have.
I got to change my name right now.
I love it. We interview entrepreneurs just like you, and we talk about their hiring journeys, how they hire, and I think it's really important to know how to fire people too.
Absolutely.
People are, and that's the one thing I've noticed, that people suck at hiring, but they're even worse at firing.
Yeah.
Which is why they struggle to build a business, because there's the whole statement: hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
And excited to connect. Obviously, we're inside his Facebook group and always looking to provide value.
I'd love to get you in the podcast,
Yes.
Real Estate Online Hustlers.
Let's do it, man. Set it
In
up.
Miami too. If you want to come to Miami,
go.
just in case. There you go.
Miami, and then once you're there,
Yeah.
trip to Colombia.
I mean, it's only a hop away, right?
Yeah,
2
exactly.
hours, 2.5 hours.
Let's do it. Let's put it in the books. I'm game.
I love it.
All right, boys, it's been a pleasure. Great conversation. I look forward to having a second conversation on the details, like the nuts and bolts of the actual VA system, the processes, and actually putting out some linear steps on how to perform, from lead generation and training and hiring and firing and that sort of thing. So, with that being said, again, thank you guys so much, fam. If you like the episode, make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Follow us on all social media channels. If you want to follow me as well, you go to Rafael Cortez CEO, like that, on all social media platforms. And I'll catch you on the next one. Stay focused. You got this.